The Week with Ben Ellis.
This is Switch.
Hambleton from the Justice4The21 campaign. First of all, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
No, not a problem at all. Yesterday was the 46th anniversary. And I don't like using the word anniversary for something that's so terrible in a way, Julie. But 46 years since that horrific night in 1974. The commemorations were different this year. Can you tell us a bit about that first?
Well, yes, I agree with you, Ben. We don't use that word either. We use the memorial because an anniversary has connotations to happy events.
Of course, of course.
But yesterday, because of the pandemic and because we're in lockdown, it was decided by some of our fantastic supporters, Kevin Gormley and also Michael Lutt, which otherwise known as Luddy, came up with the idea to do a convoy where we would all be socially distanced because we'd all be in our own vehicles to show that Birmingham and the wider public across the UK and beyond is right behind our campaign for truth, justice and accountability. And also they wanted to pay their respects on the 46th memorial, which we weren't allowed to do last night because we normally do it at St Philip's Cathedral, who continue to be our spiritual home, and also at 10 minutes past 8 we would go to the tree memorial that was all organised and facilitated by the Birmingham Irish Association, Maurice Malone and the Mishnock Memorial Committee. Maurice Malone is one of our heroes. All of our supporters are our heroes. These are the salt of the earth people who have come together in their own time and at their own expense to spend the day with us, travelling around the outer circle route, anyone who knows Birmingham, it's called the number 11 route.
Of course. To
boot their horn and use their cars as a message for justice for the 21. And we are forever indebted for what they do continually in memory of our loved ones.
Of course. So as we said, 46 years, there was news this week of an arrest of a 65-year-old man in Belfast who has since been released. Police say the investigation is continuing. We won't, in terms of what we say, interfere with that investigation. I mean, we're campaigning for justice, but we don't want to, at the same time, risk the prospect of justice being served. Julie, if you follow what I'm saying there. I have to be careful how I phrase this question, and I don't want to cause any, but 6 men were arrested and imprisoned for 16 years and released in 1991, the Birmingham 6. Of course, we know about that. The campaign for justice for the 21, has that been going on as an organisation, obviously, since 1991 and the release of the Birmingham 6, but did you feel for the initial 16 years that you had that justice? Was there any reason to doubt that the initial conviction was wrong? So have you been searching for justice for the full 46 years, or is it since the release of the Birmingham 6?
That's an excellent question. I was 11 when Maxine was killed. So when the police claimed that they had captured the bombers, everyone took their word for it. They took it for granted that these were the men who committed this heinous crime. But since campaigning, my brother Brian and I started to slowly but surely campaign from 2009, which is when I first wrote to the Chief Constable, Chris Sims, who just very briefly took 5 years to respond to that initial letter. I mean, we've just been treated with nothing but contempt over the years by the British establishment and West Midlands Police's senior management team, particularly Chris Sims when he was Chief Constable. But that started really slowly in 2009, and then in 2011 we put up an online petition, and that's what got us highlighted in the Birmingham Mail. And then we were invited on to Adrian Goldberg's show on BBC Radio WM. And that was the first time that I had ever publicly spoken out about the loss of Maxine. I mean, over the years of campaigning, I've often sat and thought, I wish I'd have done it earlier, but I wasn't strong enough earlier.
Yeah.
Grief is a terrible thing, and it can kill people. And to campaign, it's not for the light-hearted. It literally takes over your life. I have reduced my hours at work. I've had a massive financial hit, but there are some things more important than money.
Of course.
And for my brother and I, for our supporters who have continued to support us while they all work full time, while they look after their own families, they have their own problems. You know, we had 3 fellas that walked from Birmingham to London just last month. And that they all work really hard. They work 12-hour shifts, and they took annual leave to walk from Birmingham to London, where they've raised just under £6,000 for us, and also to highlight our plight. And that is Ian Williams, Glenn Randall, and Darren Bacucci, otherwise known as Gok, God bless it. And he had a dislocated knee. They've all lost their toenails from it. They got soaked, they got drenched, but every day they got up and they remembered who and why they were doing this for. We'll never be able to thank everybody. We owe so much to so many, but it is the salt of the earth people of our great country and beyond, in Ireland, across the world, who send us money, buy our T-shirts and support us constantly.
And of course, Julie, this week in the news, the Home Secretary Priti Patel has been under fire for what is believed to be her conduct regarding her day-to-day functions and the way she discloses her duties with her civil servants. But I'd imagine that yourself and the campaign would be of admiration for her for keeping this thing going and saying it's going to be continue to be looked into.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I mean, I'm not in a position to pass comments on what's been said in the news, because that would be wrong. I'm not privy to that sort of information and it would be disrespectful. But yes, she has listened to the West Midlands Mayor, Mr. Andy Street, who is a gentleman of his word. He has kept every single promise he has ever made to us and more. And he is determined to continue to fight on our behalf, particularly with the Home Secretary Priti Patel, where he has gained her ear, and she has agreed to meet with us to listen and to consider us having a public inquiry. But we would urge her in our plea to give us a public inquiry, because otherwise it would just create a hierarchy of victims, where some victims are given a public inquiry whilst others aren't. And if that is the case, we cannot continue to consider ourselves to be a democratic country, because if our judiciary system is meant to be the cornerstone of a decent society, then as our campaign currently stands, the UK has failed miserably, because it is clear that justice just does not prevail, because if it did, our campaign would not exist.
And in a way, that the campaign, as marvelous as it is, shouldn't have to exist.
Exactly.
I think that's the point. That's the point as well. There's a GoFundMe as well. If you go to the Justice4The21 website, racked up over £10,000 the last time I saw. We are more than happy to share that link as well.
Oh, thank you. It's pinned on top of our Twitter account. Should anybody wish to take a look and donate whatever they can afford. It is our Twitter account is at Justice4, the number 4, the 21, the number 21. But obviously we fully appreciate that these are really tough times and people are short of money, and the one thing that we would never want is for anybody to be left short. And that is why when we sell our T-shirts, we sell them at very low prices, because everything that people pay for, 100% of everything that everyone buys from us goes into our Justice4The21 bank account. We are not a charity. We chose not to be a charity for a number of reasons, primarily because we didn't want to be associated with money, because we've always said there are two things we don't want. We don't want an apology, because anyone can apologize for anything. And the other reason was we don't want any payment. We're not looking for compensation, because to us, it would be morally wrong. Money won't bring our loved ones back. However, because we've been refused legal aid, if we add up how many times and how many of the family members have applied for legal aid, we believe we've been refused legal aid 14 times by the Legal Aid Agency of England and Wales. Now, what does that tell your listeners? That families like ours have been refused legal aid, yet that those who committed these heinous crimes, if ever they get caught, they will get legal aid just like that. So where is the equality of arms here in legal representation? Our legal team, KRW Law, who are based in Belfast, have represented us for over 6 years, pro bono, free of charge. We are truly humbled to have such a sublime legal team, and our barristers and QCs who have represented us pro bono as well. So the GoFundMe size is for us to put money aside in case we need to go back to court, and we need the money to help to cover the costs towards our legal fees.
Well, we certainly wish you well, and we absolutely thank you. As my daughter joins us on the call, so I think that's a good point for us to leave it there, Julie. Thank you so much, Julie Hambleton, from the Justice4The21. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
For more great videos from the week, make sure you subscribe to our channel. It's down here somewhere. And don't forget, you can catch us on the radio every Sunday between 12 and 2 on FM across Birmingham, 107.5, on mobile, on DAB and online. We're made for Birmingham. This is Switch Radio.